Hello, everybody. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me, as always, is Jay, aka Dark Matter. Jay, how you doing? How was your Thanksgiving?
Ah, Thank you for having me here as usual, Wiz. Thanksgiving was great. Got a couple of days of break there and enjoyed it. Hosted the family, checked marked, everything went well. So it was a good relaxing time. How was your week?
Oh, ours was very low key. Our daughter was recovering from tonsil surgery, so we tried to keep it as low key as possible, but she's getting better now.
That's good.
So yeah, but it was a nightmare before that. So anyway,
I
yeah.
can only imagine. I can only imagine.
uh,
I think I lost Wiz here, so let
all
me.
right.
Oh, are you there? There we
Yeah,
go.
sorry.
I see you now. I don't know if you said anything while we were pausing there for a
No,
moment,
I asked how
but
your overnight was. So it's
overnight
all
was
things go off.
busy. I'm a little tired from some of the trading, so I guess let's maybe just jump right in. Uh, I guess let's maybe backtrack for just a week in time here. We came in last week, kind of discussed a little bit of how this week might be awkward. That hey, there's a 150 point expected move. We only have 3 trading days. In reality, we got a vol crush. We held the 66.15 level we were talking about on Monday last week. That was the low overnight, and then we rallied for 200 and what I think 50 points almost from there to end the week at 68.50. So this drifted a little bit higher than I even thought. Even on the week, I thought we'd maybe have a little bit more reversion before we got to Friday, but we just continued just going up, Wiz. So I just want to take a moment here, briefly talk about just last week, and then we can maybe kick into this week's trade plan then.
Yeah, so last week, you're right. That shot up a lot higher than I thought it would. We vol crushed though every single day. We under vixed by, at least like half a point. And I think on like Monday and Tuesday, we under vixed by about a point and a half. Um, yeah, it was an excessive vol crush. It just kind of goes again to the theme of volatility is spot vol betas, which means how much volatility is swinging based on the correlations and stuff. Spot vol betas are extraordinarily high right now, and right now in the pre-market, we're selling off or something minus 50 points or whatever, and again, VIX is overreacting. VIX is going to overreact in both directions. And it seems to be, so if you end up with a sub 16 VIX, you end up some really low VIX like that, you might expect to now drop or, with a VIX burst. It's going to swing heavily both ways. And I don't think that we can see a sustainable bull market until that stops.
Yeah, and I think let's jump now into speaking of when does this bull stop?
Yeah.
Let's jump into that trade plan here for just a second, and we'll kind of jump into that updated data. So you you know uh, everything started to look pretty as we were getting above 6,800 into 25, even 50 last week. It looked pretty overstretched, and I can quickly just summarize some of the information here because the updates overnight came in so quick and fast here. But coming into Sunday's overnight trading, I thought 68.75 was a critical resistance level in case we did continue to push up. But for me, where kind of my pivot on the day here, my bias essentially, it was really 68.50. If I saw us have a failed breakout above 68.50 overnight, I was waiting for that short when it came back down. And we did burst about 5 to 6 points above 68.50. And ultimately, that was the short that I took. And Where we also picked that was how the volatility overnight was going. And, I don't know if you was paying attention to the VIX overnight, but the VIX futures, we dropped basically down to about 1805 was the low on the VIX futures there was, and we hit a high of 18.85. So we almost moved a whole point just overnight in volatility. And clearly you were getting a little bit bearish there at the top range. I was shocked that intraday we were still moving up, and lo and behold, we got a little bit of Venezuela news or whatever other, but the dealers wanted to sell. They came out selling Sunday. So, Wiz, I'll quickly pause, but let me kind of just pull up what were my key levels here while you give
Yeah,
your.
actually, I started getting more bearish on Wednesday. I'm not one to say that I can pick the exact tops and bottoms. But I got more bearish on Wednesday because, I saw, again, spot vol betas were extremely high. We started reaching, 6,900 is kind of like my area a little bit. I guess 6,875 comes from something else, which makes sense. It's fine. But 6,900 was like my top boundary. So I started layering back into shorts. It was, we had that like top area of the big Thursday U-turn. Remember, we went up like 100, 50 points or something like that and ended up down 150. So yeah, I think like something like that clued me in. I was like, this is not going to last. You can't have a sustainable bull market with spot vol betas. It was a little bit of a risk. I hedged to the upside. I made a little bit of money on my hedge, and then I'm kind of happy to see this little bit of a drop here. So.
Yeah, I mean, we had a larger drop overnight. I mean, so just to recap futures action here. So I was looking for a break of 68.50, which was roughly 68.60 in the ES. That would trek us down to 68.30, and a break below that would take us down to 68.15 after that. So we actually hit all three of those levels, and then we even got to my last support level here, which was shockingly one of the more weaker Greeks, was 67.95, but it held overnight. There's a little bit of gamma there, I guess, but it held. And I think ultimately, as we went over the night, and I just want to highlight here, kudos to the team. That was my bias. Let me just go through a couple of things here. Expected move. The market was expecting low volatility this week. And they were only planning about an 82-point move. So keep in mind, last week they were expecting 150. We got 250, right? This week they only expect 82, of which we've almost gotten through 47 points of it just overnight. So I'll leave these numbers there.
How much it was a vol crunch, that shows that how much it was. And not only that, but this is like a day and a half more of trading. So the other thing too, as like a side note, the underneath, like when you look at the components of SPX and in Volland, like we focus a lot on the SPX and ES on the show because it is still the highest notional, and it does direct, because it's the highest notional, it does direct a lot of market traffic. However, when you look underneath the hood and you see, like, you look at Apple and you look at Tesla and you look at NVIDIA and all those, they are very dealers are very short gamma on all of the components. That means that customers are both buying puts and buying calls. So customers are two-sided and expecting large swings on the underlying. It creates a little bit of a dispersion trade because in SPX, we're looking at because on SPX, we're looking at, the total market, and it's fairly bearish. But on, when you have the situation of very, very negative gamma on the underlyings, you can swing very strongly. And ultimately, I think that's why we're seeing the elevated spot vol betas like we've been talking about.
Yeah, no, that actually makes really Really good sense. I'll have to look into that a little bit closer for that correlation. So you're essentially, just to recap that, you're saying some of the individual tickers were screaming a little bit more negative Vanna, which, with an increase in volatility, or go ahead, I want to just
Yeah,
recap
no,
for our
negative
readers there.
gamma. Actually, Vanna was actually quite flat because, um, dealers were short options below and above price, so that kind of negates the Vanna portion.
Yep.
But it's negative gamma, so that
Yep.
means that dealers, when they hedge, they will be hedging with the market, right? Like they'll be hedging as the market crashes or as the market rises, they will be making those moves heavier on individual names.
Got it.
Yeah. So I mean, and when you're in negative gamma like that, that's so
Yeah.
any kind of
Especially,
dispersion trade or something like that, you're gonna get some heavy movement because of that.
yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, let's keep moving on, because I think we're gonna touch a few of those topics
Mhm.
here, and as we get through the trade plan. Event catalysts. We actually do have some data points now that the government is back here. So, of interest for this week, we are looking at the ISM numbers for PMI. Manufacturing will be out a bit later today, this morning, about a half hour into the market open. And then Wednesday, we've got the services PMI. And finally, rounding out the week will be the PCE price index. And then you also have the consumer sentiment and personal income month over month, and spending as well. Anything stand out for you here this week, Wiz, from an economic calendar?
I mean, none of these. I don't. I think core PCE should have a little bit of event vol, but it doesn't. Like I'm looking now at the options themselves, and it doesn't look like they're expecting much movement on any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the CPI numbers already coming out, right? I think PC should probably come within line, but we'll see. I think the curiosity of this will be, if this does come outside of the forecast, right? What does that do to December's rate cuts? And I think that's the effect here that you'll have to consider. But to your point, doesn't seem like the market expects any surprises. So a little volatility from an event standpoint on Friday might not be as high. So great.
Yeah, there's no event vol at all.
Amazing.
um,
Uh,
I'm looking. I just looked now, and I'm like, there's zero event vol. Nobody cares about your catalysts. Move on.
No, no one does. Well, let's talk about the Greeks, though, because that's what people do care. So let me now kind of jump into the updated numbers here overnight. So we kind of came in with 68.50 as kind of that line in that sand. Blew through that, got down to 67.95. The market has been balancing quite a bit here between 68, call it 20 and 6,800 overnight in the market now. We've just been kind of coiling sideways in this range now. So, Wiz, if I start to look at a little bit of, let's just maybe jump in and look at on the weekly Vanna. Still, you've got some positive Vanna here on weekly time frames. When we start to look at this on that higher time frame, you're still very much negative Vanna here. And what you're kind of looking at this market, in my opinion, is it's holding on to the 6,800 level. If you start to see us bleed below this level, I don't think the selling is quite done yet. And you have the potential of this going all the way down, to 6,700, kind of this ridge in between here. So I think that's one area of interest or level that I'm looking at. I think, again, intraday, if you want to see, call it the bulls are back and in control, I don't think you can really get excited until you get back above 68.50. So that's kind of where we're boxed in for the time being. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the fact that we do have strong negative Vanna, and this is mostly December negative Vanna as well. That strong negative Vanna, if we pass down below 6,700, we can make a nice return to the lows. You know what I mean? Or maybe even more. The thing is, though, is like you're showing here, over the next like week or two, it's a little bit positive, not very positive. I mean, 200 million in Vanna is basically flat, especially when you're comparing it to negative 5 billion in the 3 weeks from now. So it's kind of, and that little peak right there is 6,700. Ironically enough, not that peak, the other peak below.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Up. Look at that little mountain.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. That's like 6,700 right there. So if we lose 6,700, you're going to get multiple time frames of sell off there. So that to me is the big strike I'm watching.
Yeah, and more than likely, there's going to be a reaction once we get, I think we're going to get there, is my opinion. I think we're going to coil here a little bit more for this move, but my assumption is at least I think it's going to get hard if you're going to be shorting into this 6,700. Even I would even say just a little bit of this cliff here. You'd be kind of looking at 6,725 basically. That's when you call it a zone of support will come in here. So I'd be kind of curious if we do traverse into this, how much buying activity starts to come out, at least for the weekly whiz, right? Just to see if that becomes an area of support for some sort of reversion trade. So at least as an intraday trader, if I do kind of sniff this zone, I'm not going to be, hey, let me take a breakout put here. I'm going to actually be thinking of a reversion trade here, unless the data looks completely different by the time we get there. So,
well, the data does change quite a bit. I mean, SPX trading has ramped up quite a bit, and
Well, and to your point, I want to highlight a couple of things you said there about December, right? So this is the monthly OPEX the 26th or 19th? Yeah, it's 19th. He's looking at the calendar. Yep. So, I mean, you kind of look at this. Again, here's your 6,700 cliff right here. You're essentially, kind of coasting between, I would say, this was 6,900, but if you're not even getting above 6,850 here, right? So that's your first level you lost. And if you start to kind of follow the dots, right, like this is a big level here to drop off. And if we find some support here, could be a little bit of a pushback up from it as well. But to your point, you look at either the monthly OPEX, it's negative Vanna, right? And then you go to the end of year and also the quarterly OPEX and the month end on 12/31, and you start to see it gets pretty dang bearish here as well. So there are a few key cliffs here and levels. If we do lose it, 6,700 is another one. You could go as far as low as 6,500 here potentially based on the data. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but it's been whipsawing in this range for a while. It shouldn't really surprise many people. I don't know who was buying on Friday, but I mean, it was a vol crunch, so it probably was that underlying stock kind of thing going on. But I do think 6,700. I mean, if that falls, I would, as an intraday trader, I would go short. I would not long. As a swing trader, I wouldn't long until we reach like that 6,600 range, maybe even as low as 6,500. I would have to start seeing some put buying in order to go long at all, or maybe a vol event. A vol event would be nice.
That's what I was going to say. Let's see if there's a vol event. We get an over-vixing. That would be an amazing trade.
We got to test our spot vol beta table for our new vol hack.
That's right. And again, for those,
come on, man.
I've been waiting. We almost got it right a couple of weeks ago, but it kept teasing and we didn't quite hit, that over vixing signal. So here's, for those of you wondering, here's the new widget that
if you make it medium, there's a table. If you make it medium size, there's a table underneath that and that will show you all of the current active vol events, which we haven't had since we instituted this. So we've come close a couple times. There was one time where because we count the VIX at 4:15, which is the official close of the option day. And at 4 o'clock, we had a vol event at 2.01 over VIX, but by 4:15, it was 1.8. I was like, we missed it, didn't get it. But if it would have happened, then we would have satisfied it last week. So
we would have. Well, you would have had some marketing material then.
I mean, every time, like, it's that signal is very strong. So
yeah, agreed. All right. So again, I guess for a recap for me, as we discussed here, if I'm a bull, you're going to want to see us rise back above 68.40. That will be kind of my key critical resistance level now here on the week that I'm looking at. And then even interim kind of intraday here, 68.25 XPX. That's at least another level that I'm looking for if the bulls want to kind of keep pushing up or not. But those are two areas that you could potentially short, though, especially on a failed breakout. That's what I would consider there. And then to the downside, 6,800 is critical to me. That will basically bring you your next leg here, which will take us to about 67.75, and below that, then 67.50. So that's what I'm looking at for the week.
Yeah, I'm personally, I mean, I am short. I will probably hedge long as we're above 6,700. I'll keep that hedge on. But if we don't get that hedge, or if we do fall below 6,700, I'm not, that's more or less what I'm expecting over the next 2-3 weeks. I think FOMC is when we'll see a real drop. Not, last FOMC meeting. I mean, we'll talk about this next week, but last FOMC meeting, we got, a couple dissensions, one below the decision and one above the decision. So it's kind of, it's rocky out there, and even on a macro standpoint, it's a little rocky. So we'll see.
No, it is, and you don't have like an earnings season coming in to save the day, right? As well, so it's literally between now and the end of the year, or end of year flows, and Jerome Powell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the end of year flows. I mean, that's another thing that we're gonna have to watch for next week because we haven't seen it yet. But but those overall like flows that they hedge next December, any kind of leaps or collars. It's usually a lot of collars that help this Santa rally. That's usually the cause of it is annual hedging for stuff like annuities and variable annuities, stuff like that. So that kind of stuff is that's the big thing there, and that could cause a Santa rally. But if we get below 6,700, I mean, that Santa rally could start from a much lower area.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So
could get nasty instead of fun for everyone.
Yeah, to be like whoa instead of ho, get it? Come on, man. Come on.
I knew exactly where you're going.
Hit rate on jokes. Come on.
You have been nailing the jokes this morning.
All right. All right. Well, we got Johannes saying good day. He came out a little late. I guess everybody still has a little Thanksgiving hangover. But we do have a request to give our thoughts on MSTR. MSTR being MicroStrategy, the equity that is most closely related to Bitcoin. It is, I mean, my understanding, like just, from reading and from reading about the flows, because I don't have any insight yet into cryptocurrency, but just from my reading, it seems like MSTR has gone down quite a bit, almost half price, and it's almost now below the implied Bitcoin price. which is where it belongs, honestly, because the business is not successful itself. It's just the Bitcoin holdings are successful. So my thought is on MSTR, just from a macro standpoint. Now looking at Volland kind of confirms that it will go I think participants were going long in Bitcoin and short on MSTR as like a hedge, and that seemed to be the popular trade.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at this and it looks like there's a lot of calls being bought by customers now. I guess hedging their hedge. I don't know. I mean, it seems like Bitcoin would have to rise in order for MSTR to spike. But it's amazing to me now. I'm looking at this. Is it possible that MSTR has a over 1 beta on Bitcoin? Like, do you really want that much more volatility? How much more volatility do you want, man?
Yeah, this one is like, I am just amazed at this. You know, I mean, like, what a short this must have been back in the day. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
follow MSTR, but I could have only imagined what this chart looked like maybe just a month and a half ago. But I mean, there is just not a lot of put support you have here from the dealers as well.
No.
I
mean, if it dropped, if it actually dropped 40%, which I guess it did, you can almost, that volatility, like, how can you have more beta than Bitcoin, like than a crypto?
Yeah.
I mean, any more volatility than, if they're bringing that volatility in on a boat anymore, they'll be, Trump will blow it out of the water. So, but yeah, so I mean, that's I think overall MSTR, in my view, the positive gamma means that, I guess in that area right there, those are probably puts. We're below the put area. It seems to me like it could be I mean, those are long puts. I don't think that we can rise that much higher. I mean, now I'm looking at MSTR's I'm looking at their options to kind of see, like, what is their implied
Here's
volatility.
Your puts. Here's your puts.
70%.
Quite high. Yeah, quite high. I mean, here's your
pretty high.
Yeah.
75%. It's in contango though, so that's good news, I guess.
After the beatdown it's had.
Yeah, I know, right? It's expected move. All right, so the current price, which I guess is 170 or so, the options are implying out till OPEX, which is 18 days from now. The options are implying a rally up to 180.
That's that big gamma right here.
There's a lot of skew here we're in the middle of, and I think that is probably because there's a lot of in the money puts here. But they're short in the money puts. So I mean, this is a tough one. I think I don't know. I mean, I would play probably short gamma, but maybe targeting a slight bounce, but not a huge bounce. Again, though, Bitcoin is going to have so much weight on this, so it's kind of difficult to call that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you almost have to kind of compare the IBIT ticker here as well to see. I mean, if you look at just between the calls and puts, I don't know if you saw there in gamma. I mean, there's some overhead resistance, no doubt, but there is some positivity that if you do get a little bit of IV crush on this specific ticker, that it could rise a little bit. But I mean, this is a tough one because you're betting on the crypto market as well. So I think you got to compare this with IBIT, and that will give you a better, overview, in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks like it got as high as 365 in October 6th, and now it's 169. So that's more than 40% drop, man.
Jeez, man. I mean, three, six. You said three what again?
365. So this is like
Yeah.
that's almost 50%.
I mean, you were over here
Yeah.
just to give you relativity here.
Yeah, I would definitely wait for some bottom here. I would not try to catch this. But
Nah, I think
yeah, I think
160. If you're gonna wait for me, I mean, personally, myself, looking at just between the Gamma and the Vanna here,
mhm,
I think let me go back to Vanna here. I mean, you're looking at this 160 cliff, like you're risking if you're not waiting to get closer to here. I
yeah,
mean, you could go into 170, try to catch some rise that it might have here towards 180, as you mentioned. That'll be the first conflict, and then 188 is going to be kind of that next area above it. But I
yeah,
think you got to wait around, call it this 162 to 165 zone. Wait
yeah,
for that to react, and if you're considering a long, then that's potentially an area there of
yeah.
interest.
Back in July, it was all the way up at 457.
Wow.
So
Man,
it hasn't been fun to be MSTR, but considering they have a failing business, I mean, it's a good time to to issue some shares. Which
hey
is
man, we got
probably
to pay
why
attention
we're
to that
recording this.
building every time we drive in the Beltway. All right, so
Yeah, yeah. You always see that thing.
they applied to change the building from MicroStrategy and put the Bitcoin logo that they have, right?
Uh, anyway,
Uh,
yeah. So I, just looking at the chart, looking at Volland, I would not long this anytime soon. It is a failing business. It is just, appreciating Bitcoin is why it rallied in the first place. And now everybody's using it as a hedge for their Bitcoin. It is, and for good reason too. So I would personally, I mean, personally, like me, I would not trade this. But if I were to trade it, and you would put a gun to my head and say, "Do a trade on this," I'd probably do a calendar round, like 150 or so.
yeah,
Maybe closer to like the 160 area. It does have a chance to pop, but I'm not. I would not be too excited to try to play that. This looks
no,
volatile. That's 70 volatility, maybe small, but
yeah. I'm with you
yeah, I
there.
would not. I would not be excited to trade that. So, all right. That's all I've got. Um, Jay, do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else on my end. Just get ready for a little bit of movement this week now that people are back. I think this is going to be your end of, you're going to have see a couple of weeks here of some volume, but then it's going to start to slow down quite a bit. So preserve capital if you don't find a good trade. So that's what I leave you with today.
All right. Thank you, everybody. For Jay, I am Jason. May Volland help you in your future trading ventures.